It's the new year, so if one of your goals for 2023 is to improve your writing craft, maybe finish a draft of your manuscript, or simply dedicate more time to writing, one of the best ways to work toward that goal is to read books on writing. It's true that the best writers are very often very strong readers as well. So reading books on the craft of writing from master storytellers in their own right can really help you elevate your storytelling ability. But out of all of the writing books out there, of which there are thousands, how can you determine which ones are actually going to be helpful and worthwhile? As a professional book editor, I have worked with hundreds of authors ranging from best-selling authors to debut authors. And so today I wanted to distill down my top recommended reads for writers in 2023. So in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about each book, why I selected it, what it entails, what type of content it includes, who the author is, and give you a sense of what it is going to help you work on. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe if you are interested in writing. We have an amazing community here of storytellers, and every week I either post a video with craft advice like this one, or I talk about the publishing industry as my background is in traditional publishing. I also have a free resource in the description below for anyone who is setting out to work on a book in the new year. It is called my Story Self-Assessment Worksheet, and it is a resource I designed specifically for writers who have a work in progress and are struggling to figure out what areas are working well and what areas need to be improved in the manuscript. So it'll be a short quiz that'll help you pinpoint where you're at and what you need to do to take the story to the next level. Downloading that resource is also going to sign you up for my newsletter, where I interview authors and publishing industry experts, so you don't want to miss out on that. And if you just want to sign up for the newsletter, the link is also in the description just for that. So without further ado, let's dive into my first recommended read for every writer in the new year, and that is On Writing by Stephen King. This is one of the most popular craft books by one of the world's most prolific authors, and this book is beloved by so many members of the writing community. It's often even taught in creative writing workshops for that reason. It was published in 2010, and it is part memoir and part craft guide. In it, Stephen King discusses his childhood, his career, how he got his first story published, and really divulges a lot of raw, vulnerable moments that maybe you wouldn't have known about this prolific author. In addition, he gives his practical advice for writers in his signature accessible tone and voice. I will say that this book really truly is for writers of all kinds across all genres. You do not necessarily have to be a fan specifically of Stephen King or of horror. The advice is really applicable to anyone pursuing the craft of creative writing. There's one quote from this book that I love especially, so I'm going to read it out loud. "If you want to be a writer, you must do two things above all others: read a lot and write a lot." And I think that is just perfect for encapsulating what this video is all about today, in that becoming a better writer really often involves just reading more and dedicating your time to reading, seeing how others are approaching the craft of storytelling, and then allowing that to inform how you do so in your own story. I would say that this book is especially a great fit for an author who is really in need of a boost of motivation, someone who really needs encouragement. And what better way to get that encouragement than from a master storyteller like Stephen King? A lot of writers tell me that reading this book then gives them a lot of inspiration and motivation to keep going through with their current work in progress. So if that's you, definitely check this one out. My next essential read for writers in 2023 is Dreyer's English, an utterly correct guide to clarity and style by Benjamin Dreyer. This is a manual chock full of spelling, grammar, and punctuation tips from the copy chief of Random House. It feels similar to Strunk and White's Elements of Style, but updated, as it was only published recently in 2019. So if you are familiar with the Elements of Style, then it would be worth checking this one out to see how it kind of takes the similar copy editing manual, but provides a fresh contemporary spin. A fun fact about this book is that I actually worked closely with Benjamin Dreyer when I was at Random House on the editorial team, and he was an absolute master at copy editing. Truly, I've never met anyone who understood language the way that he did and could explain rules of language in the way that he could. So I was so thrilled to see him publish this book, and it encapsulates his personality in a way that is so unique, and I think you are really going to enjoy, even if you don't know Benjamin personally. This book really approaches grammar, spelling, and punctuation, sometimes topics that can feel dull, especially if you're someone more interested in character and plot and premise, with a really humorous and lighthearted touch. It makes it fun to read about these sometimes dull types of language rules. He explains that you can break some established or archaic writing rules, like beginning a sentence with a preposition, for instance. And really it comes down to how can you make your writing as clear as possible, which is critical when you are trying to communicate your story to a reader. I really value this approach, especially as a developmental editor who is not as trained in copy editing, certainly not all the nuances of language and sentence construction. So I find this approach so accessible and enjoyable. Here's a quote that I really love from this book. "Only godless savages eschew the series comma. No sentence has ever been harmed by a series comma, and many a sentence has been improved by one." I do believe in the series comma, so let me know in the comments if you disagree with this one. But I really love how this quote encapsulates Benjamin's humor while still giving you a great grammar tip. So this book is truly for writers who are looking to improve their work and prose on a sentence level, or who struggle with grammar and want to make sure they're understanding all of the rules. Especially if you find typical grammar reference sources dull and boring or difficult to understand, this is definitely for you. My next recommended read for improving your writing is Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. This book was published in 2018 and claims to be the last book on novel writing you will ever need, which is a really bold claim. The author is a published novelist herself, and she takes the framework created by Blake Snyder, which is the Save the Cat approach for screenwriting and story structure, and adapts it for novelists specifically. She outlines 15 beats that you will find in every successful novel, and also talks about certain genre classifications or story tropes that you can use to conceptualize your story, how it fits into certain story templates that have perpetuated throughout all different types of media. It is a very practical guide and includes worksheets that can help you plot and plan your story. So many of my clients use the Save the Cat structure quite religiously. And while it is not a requirement by any means to use this as you are conceptualizing your novel, authors that I've worked with have found it incredibly helpful, as it helps them maintain a strong sense of pacing and urgency throughout the plot. Sometimes people struggle with the messy middle issue, for instance, and this will help you map your story beats from the beginning of the end to the novel to ensure there's no sections that lag in tension or conflict. Remember that keeping the reader engaged from beginning to end is critical to a successful story. So if you are someone who struggles with plot or is worried about it lagging in some places, this could be a really helpful resource. A quote that I love from this book is, "The most effective character goals or wants are concrete and tangible." I talk about this all the time with my clients. What does your main character want above all else? Can you articulate it? It shouldn't be something vague like, well, they want to be happy. Yes, but how? What does happiness look like to them? Distill it down. So prompts like that are going to help you think about your story and how to really convey your character's journey from beginning to end and keep the reader's interest in it. So this is really for the writer who is struggling with their plot or struggling with their character arc. I would say it's probably best for writers who are in the planning phase of their novel or the early drafting phase. However, I would say it is still super helpful even if you already have a finished draft, as you can certainly still apply those beats and these techniques. My next book recommendation for writers who want to improve their craft is Story Genius: How to Use Brain Science to Go Beyond Outlining and Write a Riveting Novel Before You Waste 3 Years Writing 327 Pages That Go Nowhere by Lisa Cron. This book with that very long subtitle was published in 2019, and the author has worked in publishing in numerous different roles. She was an agent and a producer, as well as a film scout and a story analyst. So she really understands story from all those different levels. This book cracks the mystery of what makes a story engaging and intriguing to a reader. What is that element that keeps the reader turning the pages? It is so hard to articulate, and that's what she explores in this book. She tries to nail down what story actually is, which really can help you start thinking about the big picture of your book. She covers why we are drawn to certain stories over others, and you can then use those insights to inform how you approach your own story. Here's a quote I really like from this book. What drives a story forward is, at first blush, invisible. It's not talent, it's not voice, it's not the plot. Think electricity. The same way, even the most powerful lamp is useless until it's plugged in, a story can't engage readers without the electricity that illuminates the plot, the voice, and the talent, bringing them to life. So she's really talking about that intangible element. That is what makes your story churn, what gives your story its engine, and what ultimately compels the reader to engage with it. I think this book is best for writers who are at the point in the drafting phase where they cannot see the forest from the trees. Perhaps you know certain elements aren't working in your story, you know that it's not compulsive and compelling readers to keep turning the pages, that unput downable quality is lacking. This book is going to help you figure out the why behind your story and help you inject that element that will make it irresistible to read. My final recommended read for writers in 2023 is called Before and After the Book Deal, A Writer's Guide to Finishing, Publishing, Promoting, and Surviving Your First Book by Courtney Maum. This book was published in 2020 and the author is a published novelist herself. And she also has a really helpful Substack newsletter by the same name, Before and After the Book Deal, that I subscribe to. So like my own channel, this book really aims to demystify the traditional publishing process and the publishing industry at large. Think of it as a how-to manual for writers who are embarking on the traditional publishing journey. Authors who are new to publishing have no idea how so many nuances of it work, and this book aims to walk you through every step of the process. I will say it does really only focus on traditional publishing, so if you are going through a different publishing route, like self-publishing, then it's not going to be helpful for you. It talks about the behind-the-scenes aspects of traditional publishing that are often opaque and not discussed publicly, like how you can expect to get paid, how much you can expect to get paid. And it includes over 150 contributions from people across the entire industry. Literary agents, best-selling authors, editors, film scouts, etc. So you're really hearing from the experts themselves, in addition to the author. A quote I like from this book is a very simple one, but an important one. It is very, very hard to get a book published. And that speaks to just the honesty that the author brings to this book. She's not going to sugarcoat anything. She is going to tell you how it is. Again, that is exactly what I try to do with my channel so that I can empower authors to understand the process and know what to expect going into it. So this is ideally for authors who are either planning to query literary agents or who are somewhere along the querying journey currently, because again, it is focused on traditional publishing. I hope this list of essential reads for writers in 2023 gave you some inspiration for developing your skill set and honing your craft in this new year. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these craft books or if you have any other recommendations. I'm always looking to expand my repertoire and learn more about resources out there, so please let me know what you think. And if you are looking for some more practical tips on improving your writing, I have another video on simple ways to improve your novel, so definitely check that one out. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it if you haven't already. And don't forget the free story self-assessment resource and my newsletter link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.